Blog Talk Radio.
Carol the Coach. Sex, love, and relationships. We talk about it here.
Carol the Coach. Compassion with contemporary relevance.
I am a psychotherapist. I can be your personal life coach, and I can help you with your issues. There are no problems too small or too big. You can talk about anything.
Speaker, columnist, radio TV host, and commentator. Carol the Coach brings messages of wellness and empowerment within reach of everyday people every day.
Almost 5 years ago, I lost my soulmate in an accident. He was killed in a plane crash. Life just, for me, has seemed to stop.
There are groups all over the city. I teach one. It is a specific way to start thinking so that you shift how you see the world, which then shifts your energy, and then you feel better and you actually see things differently.
Carol the Coach. Always available, too, at carolthecoach.com.
Now, I've got Russell on the line.
I'm 47 years old. I'm a truck driver. I'm married. I have a wife in San Francisco.
Okay.
I haven't been home in 6 months. My thing is, I don't know if I have a sex addiction or what the problem is. Why do I want what I can't have? And as soon as I can have it, I don't want it anymore.
You're right on target when you say, I don't know if I have a sexual addiction. Well, guess what? Yes, you do. And you know what? That's my specialty, Russell, so you're at the right place. Continue.
I meet women online, and I'm in a different part of the country. I travel all 48 states, so I love sex.
I hear self-esteem issues. You never felt good enough, and you didn't feel like you were getting what you should have then, and you're reenacting that now. Do you want to change that about yourself?
You get what you need.
Oh, yes. Hey, I'm Carol Jurgensen Sheets, and I am your only personal radio certified sexual addictions therapist, and I'm so happy to be with you tonight. I really wanted to talk to you about how do you live your life to the highest potential, and I wanted to kind of share with you a little bit about what Patrick Carnes has taught us. You know, I was so excited when I started my training because I wanted to learn about sexual addiction, and I wanted to actually find the most efficient course of treatment for you all, whether you be the addict, him or herself, and or the partner. And what was so amazing to me is that after I took the first module, I found out that of the 4 modules, one of them was going to be about coaching. And guess what? Yours truly is not only a psychotherapist, but I'm a certified life coach and executive coach. And so I thought, how great is that? How great is it that I'm going to learn some coaching skills specifically to work with sex addicts? And what that really means is I'm going to help to guide you to living your life to its fullest, to creating a legacy that you want. You don't want this definition of, hi, I'm Mark, I'm a sex addict. Hi, I'm Sandy, I'm a sex addict. Or you don't want to be categorized as the partner of a sex addict. You want to live your life to the fullest. So we've talked about the 3 circles before. We've talked about the fact that in the SAA book, Sex Addicts Anonymous book, they talk about 3 circles. The outer circle are the healthy behaviors. They're both sexual and non-sexual. The middle circle are those slippery slope behaviors where, you know, if you participate in those behaviors, you're more than likely going to have difficulty. And then the inner circle, and those are the deal-breaker behaviors. That might be prostitution. That might be multiple affairs. That might be exhibitionism. That might be voyeurism. Well, tonight we're going to talk about those healthy behaviors. Now, before I lose you, and I know you're probably thinking, no, I want to learn what do I do when I really don't want to participate in any of those unhealthy behaviors. You've got to have a balance. You've got to have a balance of both behaviors that absolutely are positive, healthy, and promote good self-care. And then you've got to have some of those behaviors that combat the negative thinking, the habit disorder, the behaviors that will get you into a lot of trouble. So tonight we're going to be talking about what those outer circle behaviors are. And I want you to just imagine, if you will, that not only am I a sexual addictions therapist, but I'm going to be your own personal life coach, and I'm going to take your life to the next level. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about those things that help you deal with very uncomfortable situations. Like, how do you handle conflict? Or when you're putting yourself down, how do you work through self-loathing? What kind of positive affirmations do you create for yourself, and how do you have positive self-talk? Okay, that's what we're doing tonight. So let's talk a little bit about this stuff, because not only will it improve your self-esteem, but it will also help to manage your stress. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this thing personally. You all know, if you've listened to the show, that I'm out of Indianapolis, Indiana. And get this, we are a population of over 800,000 people, and I'm the only certified sexual addictions therapist today in our metropolis. And then, like I said, I'm lucky enough to be a coach. How great is that? So we're going to talk about what do you do to improve your self-esteem and how do you manage your stress. And I want you, whether you be a partner or whether you are an addict, to just look at taking your life to the next level. Let's erase the fact that you're a sex addict. Let's just look at your behaviors. What do you do when you want to manage your stress? Because you know what? Stress is normal. Everyone deals with it. It's natural, and it is absolutely necessary. It's part of life. And as with everything, it's important to know how to cope with it. And when you learn how to cope with it, when you learn how to communicate clearly, when you learn how to assert yourself, well, then I got to tell you, life is good. And I'm sure right now your life is not so great. As a matter of fact, I would imagine you're burned out. Tonight in group, we talked about what do you do when you're burned out with meetings. You know, you've been doing all the right things and you're burned out. You almost want to quit because it seems so mundane. It seems so normal. It seems so natural. Well, there are certain parts of your life that are overwhelming, and there seems to be no respite in sight. So when that occurs, you've got to increase self-care. And when you do that, you add extra enthusiasm and excitement in your life. So now, what is stress? You know, stress is the arousal of the mind and the body in response to the demands that you've made upon you. And for you addicts, we know that stress may look like, oh my gosh, I've done nothing but procrastinate because I've been on the internet for the last 8 hours and I haven't done my job, or I haven't done my family duties, or my goodness, I'm masturbating so much, I think I've got a physical problem. So what do you do about that stress? How do you combat that? You see, there are two types of stress. The first is internal, and the second is external. Now, internal stress is the pressure that you internally place upon yourself when you experience any stressful event. You know, I had an addict last week who said, oh my gosh, I am and have been clean. I've been recovered for a year. I've not acted out once. And you know what? I'm not going to celebrate that because that's how my life should be. Well, that person has a problem because he should celebrate. He should get excited. He should see the progress. He's got to speak positively to himself, and that way he will neutralize, if you will, that internal stress. Now, what are the external stresses? Well, external stress is obviously the outside pressures that create a stressful environment. You know what I mean. I mean, there is no doubt that if you're a sex addict or a partner, there's a lot of external stress. You have spent hours and hours and hours not doing what you're supposed to, so it's all about playing catch-up. Your job may suffer, your relationships may suffer. So I got to ask you, what makes your life stressful? What demands are you currently facing? What do you like most about your life, and what do you like least? And if you're one of those people that says, I don't have anything that I like, then I got to tell you, you're not going to be able to pull yourself out of the hole. You've got to figure out what are some of your likes. And if you don't, then we need to work on gratitude, because gratitude is appreciating the good things that are happening in your life. Like the guy I talked about. He may have a point. Why celebrate normal behavior? Well, I'll tell you why. Because a year ago, it wasn't normal behavior, and he's worked really hard to make it normal. And therefore, I want him to celebrate. I want him to see the progress he's made. Now, I'm going to talk to you about different life stressors, and you may be facing some of them right now. You know, it may be that you're in an unhappy marriage. Maybe your spouse has threatened divorce or separation. Maybe you need to move because you've lost your job. Your children are acting out. You don't feel physically well. There's conflict in your life. There's all these deadlines that you aren't meeting because you've been acting out. You've had sexual addiction. Well, I got to tell you, when you're in recovery, your life starts to straighten out. You get your priorities in check. And you no longer have that fight or flight feeling. There's no physiological responses, you know the ones I'm talking about, where you're sweating, you have increased heart rate, your blood pressure's up, there's muscle tension, you're having respiration difficulties, you don't feel good, you may have indigestion, you're depressed, there's lots of guilt, anxiety, self-loathing, sadness, anger. Boy, those kinds of issues do not rectify themselves. You have to make your life different. So do you run on automatic? Are you trying to play catch up? Are you telling yourself that you'll no longer act out and then you do it again? You're stressed if you're not meeting your basic needs. If you're too busy to exercise, or you go to bed without washing your face, or taking a bath, you leave the office with a negative attitude, you forget what you were going to do. You don't like your family situation. You want to quit. Does that sound like you? Well, I get that. So let's talk about what it is that you can do to make your life different and meet your needs. Okay. Now I want you to get a pencil and a paper so that you can write down what your needs are. So I'm going to spend a second. I'm going to wait for you to do that. Get your phone, take notes, get this together, listen to this podcast often. This is going to make you a normal, healthy human being. Do you believe it? It is. So go get your stuff, and I'll wait. You have 6 basic needs, and they are your emotional needs, your social needs, the intellectual, spiritual, purposeful, and physical needs. So let's take a look at those right now. and see if you're meeting all of them, because this is where we talk about conflict. This is where we talk about assertiveness. This is when we talk about putting the proper structure into your day. Now, first of all, let's look at physical needs. Are you getting at least 7, if not 8 hours of sleep a day? So many of you have spent so much time acting out that you're sleep deprived. You need to learn how to balance your day. You need to find ways to replenish yourself. You need to put rest and relaxation in your day. Lots of meditation and prayer. So, okay. That's how you attend to your physical needs. With sleep, with rest, with relaxation, with meditation. And then you got to have something that actually makes your life fun. Now, I was just telling my group tonight, because one of the guys said, I don't want to exercise. I say I do, but I don't. I never do. And so the group gave him a lot of very helpful advice. You know, things like chunk it down, start small. I had a guy who said, just show up at the gym. Tell yourself you don't have to work out if you don't want to, but get your clothes on and show up there. Because when you show up, your life changes. You do the work you're supposed to do, but it's getting yourself out of the door, into the car, and over to the gym. Then I had another guy that said, oh, forget the gym. Get yourself out the door and just go walking around the block. That's how you address your physical needs. And then I got to ask you, are you the kind of person who appropriately asks for hugs? I mean, are you somebody who can have physical contact with people in a healthy way? Well, that's really important. If you can't, then don't do it. But most of us need at least 7 hugs a day. Hey, do you go to the doctor? When you're sick, do you go to the doctor? And more importantly, do you follow through with what the doctor asks you to do? Okay, here's your homework. So get that pen and paper out. I want you to come up with one activity that would nurture your need to physically replenish yourself. You know, we had one of the guys tonight commit to walking around the block. That's all he had to do once a day. Now, he's not working presently. His sexual addiction has resulted in him losing his job. So this is a guy that has all the time in the world to make his life better. But guess what? He doesn't have the motivation. But he did agree that he could definitely walk around the block, even if he stayed in his jeans and his flannels or whatever, to get that done. So would you commit to increasing your activity? Commit to a time, put in your schedule, be realistic, and keep that goal attainable. I told the guys that for me, I have to mix it up. I'm 58 years old. Boy, that seems old to me, but I am so young at heart. I do Pilates. I work out with weights. I paddleboard. Believe it or not, I rollerblade. I power walk. And take classes whenever I can. I like to mix it up because I get bored. And then I mix that with something spiritual in that I always listen to a podcast similar to what you're listening to right now. I may listen to Jack Canfield. I may listen to Wayne Dyer. I may listen to Cheryl Richardson, Joe Vitale. I may listen to my own podcast. I may listen to the Super Coach. The point is that I inspire myself by listening to people who have something very special to offer. And it invigorates me, and it motivates me, and truly it does inspire me. And we all know that inspire means in spirit. You know, when you pay attention to your spirit and you listen to your own intuition, that is a positive recipe for acting more congruently and taking your life to the next level. Now, those are some of the things that you can physically do. But I got to tell you, you can't do those without meeting your emotional needs. You see, there are 5 primary feelings. If you've got kids or grandkids, I want you to remember this. The first 3 rhyme: mad, sad, glad, afraid, and lonely. The adult version is anger, sadness, happiness, fear, and loneliness. And it's so important for you to be able to identify what your primary feeling is sitting right there, right now. So spend a few minutes and ask yourself, how do I feel right now? I'm going to take some deep breaths. Can you hear me breathing? I'm going to do it about 5 times. I'm taking number 3. I'm on my 4th. And I'm finished with my 5th. Now, how do I feel? Well, the bottom line is today I feel tired. But tired is not one of the primary 5. So I have to decide, do I feel anger, sadness, happiness, fear, or loneliness? Now, if I really pay attention to how I feel fear right now. And that's one of the reasons that I stayed up late last night getting things done. I got up early this morning to get more things done. Because I actually feared if I didn't create my schedule in that way, I'd get behind and I wouldn't be able to prove myself. Yep, the neighbors, my friends, and my family may look at me and go, she is such a dynamo. She gets everything done. She's amazing. She's a workhorse. She never stops. But honestly, and unfortunately, it's fear that motivated me last night and today. Because I couldn't imagine walking into this office having bought new file cabinets, pulling everything out, having it all spread out. I couldn't imagine living like that. I was afraid to live like that. So I made the decision to stay up later than I should, getting up early, so that I could organize my life at the expense of one of my physical needs, and that was sleep. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is to check in with your feelings daily. Find a safe person to share them with. and to write them down. Perhaps you don't want a journal, but you can at least write down every day on a calendar your primary feelings. And again, they're anger, sadness, loneliness, fear, and happiness. Because if you don't know your emotional needs and you don't honor them, if you don't have a safe person to talk to, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to either implode, which means something's going to break inside of you. Maybe you're going to get sick. Maybe you're going to lash out at somebody. Maybe you're going to hold it in and you're going to hold resentment, which we all know is toxic. Or you're going to explode, which of course is that lashing out. It is saying things that you would like not to say. And I really know that it's so important to be able to decide what you're going to do with your life by first and foremost understanding how you feel about life. You're listening to Carol the Coach. You can email me at carolthecoach@AOL.com. And that is the best way to get a hold of me. And I will always get back with you. Any of my listeners will tell you that I am the master at responding within 24 hours to any email I get for this show. We're going to be taking a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about assertiveness and what that is and how it can make your life different.
Carol the Coach. Sex, love, and relationships. We talk about it here.
Carol the Coach. Compassion with contemporary relevance.
I am a psychotherapist. I can be your personal life coach, and I can help you with your issues. There are no problems too small or too big. You can talk about anything.
Speaker, columnist, radio TV host, and commentator. Carol the Coach brings messages of wellness and empowerment within reach of everyday people every day.
Almost 5 years ago, I lost my soulmate in an accident. He was killed in a plane crash. Life just, for me, has seemed to stop.
There are groups all over the city. I teach one. It is a specific way to start thinking so that you shift how you see the world, which then shifts your energy, and then you feel better and you actually see things differently.
Carol the Coach. Always available, too, at carolthecoach.com.
Now, I've got Russell on the line.
I'm 47 years old. I'm a truck driver. I'm married. I have a wife in San Francisco.
Okay.
I haven't been home in 6 months. My thing is, I don't know if I have a sex addiction or what the problem is. Why do I want what I can't have? And as soon as I can have it, I don't want it anymore.
You're right on target when you say, I don't know if I have a sexual addiction. Well, guess what? Yes, you do. And you know what? That's my specialty, Russell, so you're at the right place. Continue.
I meet women online, and I'm in a different part of the country. I travel all 48 states, so I love sex.
I hear self-esteem issues. You never felt good enough, and you didn't feel like you were getting what you should have then, and you're reenacting that now. Do you want to change that about yourself?
And you know, Russell did want to change that about himself. He wouldn't have called the show if he hadn't. And I know there's things you want to change about yourself. And I cannot highly recommend enough that you listen to this show to take your life to the next level. Now, conflict can be very tough, and let's just start with the basics. What grade would you give yourself on assertiveness? Assertiveness is when you're clear and direct about how you feel, what you need, and what you believe. Now, it doesn't mean you get your way, but it means that you're very clear so the people know what they get when they're talking to you. Now, I want you to think of an issue that you have with someone and the fact that you haven't shared it with them. Take a moment and think about What are you angry about? What are you uncomfortable about? And why you haven't shared it. And then I want you to apply this formula. It's super easy. It starts out by saying blank, which is the person's name. When you blank, I feel blank, which is the feeling, because the message it sends me is blank. Okay, I'm going to show you how this works. I might say to my husband, Eric, when you roll your eyes at me, I feel angry because the message it sends me is you think I'm crazy. That's actually a true story. And he looked at me very confused, and he said, no, honey, I've heard that story 1,000,000 times. That was totally different than, I don't believe you, I think you're exaggerating, I think you're making it up. It was about, and I'm sure any of you can relate if you've ever had somebody that you care about in your life, it's about hearing some of the same stories over and over again and being a little bit tired. So now I want you to think about that. It's your turn. Think of one situation in which you need to be more clear and direct about your thoughts, your feelings, and your beliefs. And again, I want you to write out that statement, and it goes like this, blank, which is the person's name. When you blank, which is the behavior, and get very descriptive, identify what it is. Remember, for Eric, it was when you roll your eyes at me. And then I feel, and then pick one of those primary feelings, anger, sadness, loneliness, fear, or happiness. And then the last part is because the message it sends me is blank. Okay, I'm going to give you a few minutes, and I'm going to ask you to write that out. What would your statement be? The better you get with assertiveness, the more congruent, authentic, and transparent you become. And that is what all addicts and their partners want to be. More congruent, authentic, and transparent. Now, I know some of you may say, I don't want to assert myself. If I assert myself, Susie will be mad at me. Jim may tell me off. Tom may not talk to me. Well, let's talk about conflict for a minute. You know, conflict is inherent in all relationships. And here's what I want you to know and believe. That in healthy relationships, conflict breeds intimacy. In unhealthy relationships, it can bring about chaos. Now, I know you may be going, oh, I don't know, I think my relationship's pretty unhealthy. Why don't you give it a shot and try? And I'm going to ask you to apply 4 very special rules of conflict. Number 1, when somebody is angry with you, I want you to ask yourself, how did I contribute to the conflict? This is what I call a Carol the Coachism workshop on conflict. It's actually called the 4 tools of conflict. So number 1, the first tool is to ask yourself, how did I contribute to the conflict? And after you've asked yourself that, I want you to remember that only 10% of the conflict is about you. Tool number 2 is to tell yourself that 90% of all conflict is typically about the other person, And I want you to say to yourself the mantra, this is not about me. This is about Harry. Tool number 3 is I want you to stop giving the other person the power to make you feel anything. So literally, don't give your power away. And one of the ways you do this is you say to yourself another mantra. And it's simple. It's I won't give blank the power to make me feel blank. You know, with the situation with my husband, I might say, I won't give Eric the power to make me feel crazy. Now, if you're a partner of a sex addict, you know that it's very typical for you to give your power away. You are consistently and chronically worried about what that other person is doing. Well, stop that. Don't give that other person the power to make you feel hypervigilant, because that 4th tool is the most important tool. And I call it using the other F word. That's where you have faith. And you have faith in one of three things. You have faith in yourself, that you can weather the conflict. You have faith in the relationship, that the two of you will get through it. Or you have faith in a higher power, that the universe, God, whoever will take care of the situation. Now, can you do that? Because I'll tell you what, when you use these 4 tools of conflict, it teaches you the art of Teflon, which keeps you from personalizing and internalizing it. You keep practicing by saying, you know, this isn't about me. This is about him. This isn't about me. This is about her. And then you say, I won't give them the power to make me feel anything. And at the same time, you will ask yourself openly and honestly, but how did I contribute to this problem? I mean, let's face it, with Eric, I contributed because I had told the story over and over and over again. And of course, last but not least, you ask yourself, what do I have faith in? And it can be 1, 2, or all 3. Do I have faith in myself that I'll get through this no matter what? You know, I have several guys in my group that are really fearful that they're going to get a divorce. They don't want the divorce, but their wives continue to threaten that. And you know what? They should be afraid. That may happen. But what they do have is their ability to say, you know what, I'm going to have faith that whatever happens, happens, and I will make the best of it. And that's the 4 tools of conflict. Very, very important stuff. Now let me ask you, you can only truly assert yourself and deal with conflict appropriately if you absolutely can believe there are important things about you that are uniquely your own. So I always tell all my clients, no matter what the issues, that they have to know their personality strengths. They have to know that they have goodness inside of them, that there are things that make them feel special. And it's not that they're good at sports or they're a good mother or a father. It's about things that make them unique people. For instance, when it comes to personality strengths, I know that I am faithful and loyal and loving and kind and compassionate and caring and smart and intelligent and empathetic. Now, right there, I named 16 strengths that I have, do you know your personality strengths? If I asked you right now, can you list 25? Would you be able to do that? Would you be able to appreciate personality adjectives that describe you? Let's give it a try. I'm going to give you a minute, and I'm going to ask you to do that. To think of things that you admire or appreciate about your personality. And, oh, by the way, if you start to say you're generous, I'm very generous. But you know what? Growing up as a kid, when somebody handed us 3 plates of food, I always looked for the plate that had the most. Now, that does not discredit the fact that I'm generous. And that's what will happen. You'll start to come up with some positive things about yourself, and there'll be this gremlin inside of you that goes, yeah. Guess what? You're not all that you're cracked up to be. As a matter of fact, you're downright selfish. Well, I want you to ignore that inner voice, and I want you to stay with the positive. The initial word, and write it down. I'm going to give you a few seconds to do that right now. Okay, that's going to be your homework assignment. Come up with 25 things that you like about yourself. And you know what? I know you've probably not been encouraged to toot your own horn, but I'm asking you to do it now, because when you've been an addict and you're working on your own recovery, you tend to go with things that make you feel bad about yourself as opposed to things that make you feel good. So stay with the positive. Disregard the negative voice inside of your head and write down those 25 personality strengths that make you feel good. Okay, now let's look at your intellectual needs. What do you do to stimulate your intelligence? I've already told you that when I exercise, I listen to podcasts so that I can learn and be inspired and motivated. What do you do? Do you read? Take classes? Do you write? Belong to a group? Do you teach? Are you a supervisor? What are your special talents? And if there's nothing that you can identify that actually are your special talents, then your next homework assignment is to ask 5 other people what they appreciate about you. That's really very, very important. You're knowing that you can contribute and that intellectually you are building yourself up is very important. And I'm going to ask you, we all have a legacy to leave. And I always tell my addicts, you know what? You might be ready to sponsor somebody. You might be ready to mentor somebody. And that is an amazing thing considering where you were and where you've been and where you're going. So I'm going to ask you to do something that you probably haven't had much time to do. And that is to list one thing that has tugged at your heart that you had wished you could have integrated into your life, or that you hope to someday integrate into your future. What's one thing that's tugging at your heartstrings? When you pay attention to that, you are paying attention to your intuition. And You probably have heard me say before, it's so important to listen to what you think, your intellect, how you feel, your emotions, and what you know, which is your intuition. Okay, what are your spiritual needs? Do you trust in something greater than yourself? I mean, even my 12-steppers that don't believe in God, they have to believe there's something greater than themselves. And how do you access that? Do you read? Do you meditate? Do you pray? Do you honor the universe, God, or higher power? Are you working your 12 steps? Are you surrendering? Hey, this is a toughie. Do you enjoy the moment, noticing the flowers, the sky, and really appreciate everyday life? When you do, you are more spiritually based. And that, too, is very, very important. Now, to do that, you have to listen. And you have to decrease your activity level to help build your spirituality. When you sit and listen, you become a conduit for your spirituality. You live in the moment, and you appreciate your life. And then, of course, you increase that spirit inside of you, which then encourages you to have faith. And faith is that belief that things will happen and work out for the best. And when you build that faith quotient, you build that inner strength. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, I just don't build my strength. Well, let me tell you, sometimes you have to hang out with positive people to muster the strength to be all that you can be. So let's find out about your social needs for a moment. Do you have a social life? Do you have people at work that you can count on? Family? Are you part of a group? Can you say, yes, you know, my 12-step meetings are fellowship and I am part of that group? Or, yes, I belong to Recovery Nation and I'm on that chat room 3 times a week talking to the guys about what it is that I need. If you're a partner, do you belong to COSA? Do you go to Al-Anon, S-Anon? Do you have people that are like-minded that encourage you that you can get through this? That's absolutely essential to being a well-rounded person. And even more than that, are you a giver or a taker? And more than likely, I'm going to ask you, do you feel comfortable receiving? Because so oftentimes sex addicts, they've given so much that they've rebelled. And now it's all about medicating the pain, the loss, the hurt. And then they become very self-absorbed and selfish, and they feel like all they are takers. So you got to have that healthy balance. Can you receive? Do you ask for what you need? Are you a people pleaser? Do you rescue people? Do you put others before yourself or you before them? Again, it's all about balance. So to really have healthy social relationships, it's imperative that you balance that need to give with that need to receive. Regardless, you need to create lifelines to combat stress. I mean, that's one of the reasons they want you to have a sponsor, whether you be in COSA or an SA or SAA. You need to be able to work on those developing supports, have a mentor, ask for help, delegate to others, and balance receiving with giving. And let's face it, that's what that 12 step's all about. Okay, now you know that you're really important. And being able to address your physical, social, intellectual, emotional, spiritual, and purposeful needs will decrease the chances that you burn out on your life, and it'll take your life to the next level. So I'm going to ask you, as you think about your loved ones, will you not only practice the 4 tools of conflict, but assertiveness, and that all-important skill of empathy? Put yourself in the other person's shoes and relate to them based on that. All right. Well, you're very important, and I want you to practice these behaviors because they are healthy outer circle behaviors. You are extremely important. You know how I always end the show, there will only be one of you at all times, so fearlessly have the courage to be yourself. That is so important because if you don't, oh my gosh, then what ends up happening is that you don't get your needs met or you overcompensate in ways that are not healthy. And this show is all about feeling healthy. So I want you to think about these things. I want you to work on your balance. And I want you to take your life to the next level. Because it will make a difference in how you relate to your family, to your friends, to your kids, and to your coworkers. And there is no doubt about it. We were put on this earth to live the best life possible. And that's what I'm going to ask you to do. Because you're in recovery on some level, whether you're an addict or a partner. And we got to take your life to the next level. Okay, that's it for me tonight. I so appreciate helping you with those outer circles. And as I always say to you, there will be only one of you at all times, and I want you to fearlessly have the courage to be yourself. So don't forget to do your homework, okay? I want you to come up with those 25 personality strengths to make your life different. I want you to say positive things to yourself because you can. I want you to know that you can really make a difference when you work in recovery, and that this curse, addiction or being in love with an addict, is also a gift in disguise. It doesn't feel like it today, but I promise you that it absolutely is. And I appreciate getting to be with you tonight because it's always important to spend time together and take your life to the next level. So we will see you next week for another show. And I really want you to work these life skills to take your life to the next level. See you next week.